Welcome, everyone. In today's deep dive, we're going to master one of the most fundamental concepts in business finance. Seriously, this isn't just about plugging numbers into a formula for an exam. This is about understanding the engine that truly drives wealth creation and shapes just about every critical business decision you'll ever make. I promise, by the end of this, you're going to see money, time, and opportunity in a completely different light.
So let's start with a big question, one that investors and business leaders have wrestled with for centuries. What is the single most powerful force in the financial universe? You know, there's a famous quote that's often attributed to Albert Einstein. He supposedly called it the eighth wonder of the world. The saying goes, "He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it." And that right there, that perfectly captures the two sides of this coin. This force can be your absolute best friend, or it can be your worst enemy.
And the answer, of course, is compound interest. The simplest way to think about it is interest on your interest. I want you to picture a snowball at the top of a really long hill. It starts out small, right? But as it starts rolling, it picks up more snow, and the bigger it gets, the more snow it picks up with each rotation, and it just gets bigger and bigger, faster and faster. That accelerating growth, that's compound interest. It is a self-reinforcing cycle that once you really get it, it will change how you think about financial strategy forever.
All right, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the big idea. Then we're going to deconstruct the formula piece by piece. After that, we'll get practical and run through some real-world scenarios, one where you're the investor and one where you're the borrower. Then we'll wrap up by seeing exactly why compounding always comes out on top. Let's get started.
Okay, let's dive right into the heart of it. We're going to begin with the formula itself. Think of it as the mathematical code that unlocks this whole concept for us.
Now I get it. The minute I put a formula up on the screen, some of you might feel a little intimidated. Don't be. I want you to stop thinking of this as a scary math equation and start thinking of it like a recipe. Each one of those letters is just an ingredient, and how we combine them determines the final dish. So let's go through these ingredients one by one.
All right, let's break down this recipe. If you can understand what each part does, the whole thing becomes incredibly simple and powerful.
First up, we have P for principal. This is your starting point. It's the foundation. It's the seed money you plant. In a business context, this could be the capital you invest to launch a new product, or it could be the loan you take out to buy that new piece of machinery. P is that initial number that everything else is going to grow from.
Next up is R, the annual interest rate. Now listen up, because this is probably the most common place students make a mistake. First thing, you always have to express this rate as a decimal. So if the rate is 7%, you write it as 0.07 in the formula. Got it? Second, and this is crucial, R is always the annual, the yearly rate. It doesn't matter if your interest is calculated every month or every day, R stands for the rate per year. We handle the frequency with our next ingredient.
And here it is. This is where the magic really happens. N is the compounding frequency. It's the number of times per year that the interest gets calculated and then rolled back into your principal. So if a savings account compounds monthly, N is 12. If a corporate bond pays interest semi-annually, N is 2. The higher N is, the more often your money is working for you, which means it grows faster. Think of N as the turbocharger in our financial engine.
And finally, our last ingredient is T for time, and it's always measured in years. If N is the turbocharger, then T is the long, open highway stretching out in front of you. Time is, without a doubt, the most powerful catalyst in this entire equation. The more time you give your money, the more mind-boggling the results become. This is exactly why you hear financial advisors saying it's all about time in the market. The same goes for your business investments.
Okay, enough theory. We've got our ingredients, we understand the recipe. Let's actually cook something. We're going to apply this to a real-world investment scenario and see what happens. Okay, here's our case study. Now, before we move on, just take a second and look at this. Try to identify our variables. What's P? What's R? What about N and T? Getting into the habit of breaking down a problem like this is the first and most important step to solving it.
All right, let's walk through the calculation step by step. First, we assign our variables. P is our $2,000. R is 0.07. N is 12 because it's compounded monthly. And T is 4 years. Now, before we plug everything into the big formula, we have to calculate a couple of smaller pieces. First is the periodic rate, that's R divided by N. This just tells us the interest rate for each individual month. Then we calculate the total number of compounding periods, that's N times T. So 12 times a year for 4 years gives us 48 total periods. Now we're ready to solve for A.
And there's our answer.
Your initial $2,000 investment has grown to $2,638. That's a profit of $638. You didn't add another penny to it. Your money worked for you and generated an almost 32% return. That right there is the power of compound interest working in your favor.
But remember what I said at the beginning. This is a double-edged sword. It's fantastic when it's working for you, but it can be devastating when it's working against you. So let's flip the script and look at compounding from the perspective of a borrower.
So in this situation, your company needs capital to fund a new project, and you take out a loan. That $10,000 is now a liability. It's a cost. As a business manager, it is absolutely essential that you understand the total cost of that loan before you sign anything. This one calculation can make or break your entire business strategy.
The process is exactly the same, but our goal is different. We're trying to figure out the total amount we're on the hook for. So let's assign our variables. P is 10,000, R is 0.08. Now notice, N is just 1. Why? Because it's compounded annually, or once per year. And T is 5. See how that actually simplifies things a bit? Our periodic rate is just R, and our total periods are just T.
And there it is. The total repayment amount is $14,693. This is what we call a moment of truth. You borrowed $10,000, but you're paying back almost $4,700 on top of that. That interest is the cost of capital. So here's the critical question you have to ask as a manager. Will the project I'm funding with this loan generate a return on investment, an ROI, that is greater than $4,700? Because if that project is only going to make you $4,000 in profit, you're literally paying to lose money. This math right here is where strategy becomes real.
So why is this concept so revered? Why is it considered the most powerful force in finance? To really see it, let's put it side by side with its much simpler cousin, simple interest.
This slide tells the whole story. Simple interest is linear growth. It's a straight, predictable line. Every year, you earn the exact same dollar amount of interest. It just plods along. Compound interest, on the other hand, is exponential growth. It's an accelerating curve. It starts off slow, yeah, but over time, that curve shoots upwards, leaving that straight line way, way behind in the dust. It's the difference between walking and launching a rocket ship. So as you go forward into your careers, I want you to burn these principles into your brain. First, time is your greatest asset. Start early. Second, how often your money compounds makes a huge difference. Third, always remember it's a two-way street, a tool for growth and a cost of debt. And finally, never ever underestimate how a tiny difference in an interest rate, even 0.5%, can lead to massive differences over the long term. These aren't just concepts for class. These are the building blocks of smart financial decisions.
So, we've deconstructed the formula, we've run the numbers on real-world scenarios, and we've seen its incredible power. But at the end of the day, remember this. The formula is just a tool. It's powerful, but it's useless on its own. The real power lies in how you, as a strategic thinker, as a future business leader, choose to apply it. So the question I'll leave you with is, how are you going to use this tool to build value?